Today, New York City police are investigating what appears to be a disturbing new trend, a wave of what appear to be serious threats against police officers. Authorities are looking into at least 40 cases of people threatening even more violence since two officers, Rafael Ramos and Wenjian Liu, were killed in cold blood last weekend.
Two officers were driving in a South Los Angeles neighborhood Sunday night when their squad car came under fire by two gunmen. It's one thing when police officers have to place themselves in dangerous situations. It's quite another when the criminal element comes hunting the men and women in blue. Well, he's a criminal defense attorney with more than 20 years experience. His firm has handled cases working with the U.S. Attorney's Office, the DEA, and Homeland Security. And Geoffrey Nathan joins us. Good afternoon, Jeff. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
You know, is it safe to say this is related to the protests and racial tension still brewing after what happened in the Eric Garner and Michael Brown cases?
Well, indeed it is. Events like this can tend to and have, in this circumstance, whipped up a near psychotic frenzy amongst individuals who deem it appropriate to express themselves through their plans of violence. And it is in my opinion, regrettable, and it doesn't speak well at all for what's going on in this country, frankly.
Moving forward, what has to happen now to help protect law enforcement officers and allow them to just do their jobs?
Well, I think that law enforcement's going to have to up the ante insofar as extending the olive branch to the communities that they serve to say, hey, look, we're not out here to do bad. We're out here to do good. We're here to serve the public. That's their charter. And consequently, I think that the wave of violence that I've described, the psychotic frenzy, will ebb, as do all national events. And as a consequence, soon, I believe, the criminal element that is fostering this will go about committing crimes in some other fashion, I believe.
Well, doesn't this kind of behavior actually put all of us in more danger if the police are too busy trying to protect themselves?
Well, that's a very good point. Response times are going to go down. Plus, in a responding scenario, the police are going to be on a heightened alert as to whether or not they're going to be ambushed when they're responding. So as a consequence, what you're seeing throughout the country now is that law enforcement, appropriately so, is drawing their service revolvers when they're responding even to the smallest of all calls. And eventually there's going to be a mistaken shooting that's going to happen. And then, the pot comes off the kettle at that point.
Jeff Nathan joining us on Midpoint TV. What role, if any, does New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio play in all this increasing war on police?
Well, I think he's done, frankly, a commendable job to try to allay the concerns of the public as to what's transpiring. And I find that the acts that he's taken, the measurable steps, have been quite commendable. And I think the mayor is doing the right thing.
Jeff, do you think that the people that are protesting should put some of their demonstrations on hold and there should be kind of a cooling off period? Or do you say that they have the right to exercise their freedom of speech?
Well, they certainly had their constitutional right to free speech, as we all do. But, after a while, the point's been made, and everyone understands the fact that parts of the public in this country are aggrieved by the decisions that grand juries have made. However, those grand jury decisions are final, and nothing that protesters can do is going to undo a grand jury decision. So I think it's time for the organizers of these near rebellions, frankly, to sort of say, look, we've done our duty. We got to turn the tide here and move on to something else is what I would be recommending if I were in their inner circle, frankly.
Well, Jeff, how do the police officers really build bridges with some of the communities that they're serving?
Well, drive-bys, I think, are one of the things that's going on right now throughout the country that I've been made aware of. Just getting out of the patrol car, getting onto the bicycles, just doing the beat, and not being, surrounded, by the so-called protections of a car, which, as we've seen, isn't that much protection, is it? But I mean, they just have to get out there and, ask people, hey, how you doing and what's going on? Anything I can do to help you today? And I think that would foster the type of goodwill that's needed by law enforcement at this time.
Jeff, you're a criminal defense attorney. A lot of people are talking about cameras, whether you would put them on their uniform or something that could give people visual evidence and may make the officers think twice before any specific act. Do you think that's a good thing, or do you think that would just open up a whole new set of lawsuits?
You know, then you've got the aspect of whether or not a crime is so-called staged. I mean, how much cameraing do we need? Law enforcement has the credibility behind it, certainly when they're testifying, is that, when they say that's an event that occurred, by and large, jurors at least normally tend to believe it. So, I mean, are we really going to video everything that we do? Pretty soon, are we going to have drones flying overhead to monitor police activity as well? Once crooks figure a way to blunt the cameras that they're wearing. I mean, come on, after a while, you have to say, look, enough is enough, or too much is too much. And frankly, from a defense perspective, I really think that the overuse of cameras is too much.
Jeff, what is your thoughts on President Obama? Has he handled the situation correctly in regards to the NYPD?
Yes, in a measured two ways. One, his temperate remarks, and two, the fact that these really are not national issues. These are local police issues, and I think that what he's done is to, make an executive decision that that these are local matters that will be handled locally, and that in as much as he can ask for calm, it's a mistake for the executive branch to assert its powers over the local governments, which is frankly constitutionally prohibited. So I think that the Obama administration is doing the right thing in this regard.
Jeff, you seem to be kind of questioning the validity of the concerns of the NYPD officers. Don't you think in some ways, though, that they have a right to voice their displeasure with Mayor de Blasio and President Obama?
Yeah, but, as you've pointed out, their job is to serve the public and not to act as a bullhorn for policies that they don't necessarily agree with. And as a consequence, realistically, their job is to go out and do their community deeds as well as law enforcement activities. And for them to be protesting, turning their backs on the officials whose job is to monitor them is inappropriate in my behavior. It's just not something that we want to see out of our finest.
All right, Jeff Nathan, a criminal defense attorney, thank you so much for appearing here on Midpoint. We're coming right back, right here on Newsmax TV for a Monday afternoon.